Well, Disc Priest was a god for a while, but everyone complained, and now he's gonna bleed.
If you can make God bleed, then people will cease to believe in him, and there will be blood in the water, and the sharks will come.
Hopefully, after these changes, the group finder will be in a much better position, and people will actually be able to play the game who aren't disciplined. These changes are going to happen on Tuesday, the 15th. Developers note, Disc Priests are performing beyond where we would like them to be, so we are reducing the impact of Power Word Shield, Penance, and Atonement throughput, which is basically their whole kit. Weal and Woe now increases the absorb of Power Word Shield by 5% per stack, was 10% per stack. Penance, damage and healing reduced by 15%. Allies with Atonement are now healed for 28% of the damage instead of 32. Atonement is now 125% more effective outside of raids, was 100%. Void Weaver. Void Blast damage increased by 10%. Holy changes. Holy Nova damage increased by 30%. Prayer of Healing increased by 15%. Prayerful Litany causes Prayer of Healing to heal its primary target for 125%, up from 75%. Prayer of Healing mana cost reduced by 10%. Prismatic Echoes increases Echo of Light's healing by 8/15%, was 5 or 10%, and Renew healing is increased by 20 or 40%, was 15 or 30%. And all healing done is going to be increased by 3%. Oracle, Twinsight now applies 4 stacks of Prayer Mending, was 2. This is a big change. So I wanted to talk about Holy Priest and how this is going to affect them in Raid. Is this going to change the talent builds we use? Maybe. I haven't thought too hard into the Prayer of Mending changes. It is possible that Prayer of Mending will be halfway decent again and then we can use it, but I really wanted to focus on the Prismatic Echo changes and as well as the Oracle changes. So this is the top Mugsy Mythic log for a Holy Priest using Prismatic Echoes. And I asked a theory crafter about this. He told me that the Prismatic Echoes change was probably about a like 3% buff to this build. So add that to the other 3%, it's probably like 6% that he should be doing increased healing. And if we look at his overall, so his overheal, he was basically tied with the Druid. And then if you add another 6%, it's another 120,000. So he'd be tied with the Holy Paladin um, in terms of raw healing. So I think, Holy Priest with this build is probably closer to on par with the other healers than people might think. Now, I asked the theory crafters what they thought about the current build, which is what everyone is using, and they told me it's actually slightly less than 3% for the current build because they do not use prismatic echoes. So that doesn't mean it's not viable. I mean, the current build, another 3% on top of this, if you're like a very strong player, this is obviously the best parse, but there's only 17 parses of a Holy Priest on Mugsy Mythic, so um, I don't feel it's too dishonest to choose this parse. Um, but yeah, uh, Holy's in a lot better spot, and if you take away, so right now this Disc Priest he's only overhealing 27%, and if we go here, 40% overheal, so outside of the ramps, there's going to be a lot more healing to pick up because there's basically zero overheal, and then you have these massive 40% overheal sections. So these sections of disc ramps are not going to be super impacted, but they will go down a little. So instead of seeing like 7.5 million ramps, probably you're going to see 7 million ramps, and a 10 million ramp probably going to be a 9.5 million ramp. So I don't think disc is in trouble. I really don't. But this is the holy section, so we're not going to talk about disc. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is Oracle Disk in RAID. So something I found quite interesting is the top Oracle Disk in RAID is using 20,000 haste, 10,000 mastery, and 10,000 crit. So it's favoring haste and then picking up mastery and crit where it can, and then avoiding versatility essentially. So, and then he's got 3,000 leech, which I think is actually quite good for Oracle. Another thing I found interesting is I looked into his cast, and he was not casting Guardian Spirit on himself during. Uh, he cast it one time, and he didn't cast it on himself during his ramp with Piety. So, I mean, he's doing pretty good healing, but you can like every third time if you have restitution, you can use Guardian Spirit on yourself with Piety, or if you want to be a baller and not die, then just take Guardian Angel and be a baller and do big fat Piety healing. Cause I mean this guy's Piety healing's in the tank. It's like 2%. And I mean he's cranking on the boss overall. I'm not saying he's doing poorly. He's a top priest parser with Oracle before these buffs. And after these buffs, he's going to do a lot more. But what I'm saying is he's not even using Piety correctly. Piety should be like 7% of his healing. Like he could be doing way more with Piety. Just cast Power Word Shield on yourself, cast Piety on yourself, cast Guardian Spirit on yourself, cast your shield on yourself. You're gonna have a lot of healing. It's gonna be a lot. I mean, it's only for 4 nearby players, but if you can like time your piety, like he's using it on top of his divine hymn and stuff. So, I mean, maybe that's just the way to do it. You just use piety and then on top of your other stuff, use that. But if you want to be a sneaky priest, I would use piety for like on top of someone else's cooldown so that you steal their healing because this is a really snipe, like you can snipe healing with this spell. So, I don't know. But the most interesting thing I thought about the build was he's running really heavy haste. So he's got to have really high apotheosis uptime, and he also has to have really high renewed faith uptime. He's got a lot of renews coming out just from, uh, and I respect the choice for the renews instead of the light well. So I'm probably going to be trying this build in heroic, and if I think it's good, I'm going to be maybe using it in mythic. So at least on reclear. So we'll see. We'll give it a go. But I'm gonna use Guardian Angel, and I'm gonna try to do Piety healing outside of my cooldown. So I'm gonna have Piety as a separate cooldown. Use Premonition of Insight on cooldown, and not overlap it with him. So I'll be doing that. I think it's probably better for your overall. I mean, if you really need a crank during your uh, big healing, then I guess you can do that. But I don't know. If you're gonna put it on top of him, you may as well use Guardian Spirit on yourself so you stay topped, because it doesn't do anything if you're not topped, and I'm not sure if people understand that. Another thing is he was using the cooldown reduction on Premonition, which I think is actually pretty good because that means you get more insights. Uh, Fate Bender increases the effects of Premonition by 40%. It If you have enough haste, you're gonna get instant cast prayer bendings anyway, and I think you probably do anyway with just a regular insight. So that was pretty interesting. Now we can talk about Disc and Raid. So let's see this Disc Priest. He's overhealing 27%. So look at the raw healing. Disc Priest on top of raw healing without mitigations. Add mitigations and Disc Priest is doing very well. And people are acting like Paladin's in the tank, but I'm like, if you add mitigations, Paladin's not in the tank. It's actually doing quite well. Um, the thing is, you can get all of those mitigations from a Ret Paladin, so it's it's about like that. But let's look at how much overhealing they're doing during ramps. This is the second priest we've looked at in terms of overheal. Yet again, 40% overhealing during ramp. So the ramp is fine. The ramp is not in trouble. I mean, there'll be a little bit of extra healing to pick up, but I think Disc Priest is going to be just fine in raid. And talking about Mythic Plus, they did basically the exact changes I was recommending. I told them in my last video, I said like, you got to nerf disc by power word shield by 20%, and then it'll be it'll still be good. It'll just be more balanced. And I asked for an Atonement offset buff. So what they did is they nerfed Atonement and then they buffed it in keys. So it's basically a zero change. It's like -1% penance healing is what I was reading in the priest Discord. So yeah, I think Disc will be fine. And they buffed Void Weaver like pretty substantially. Like while you have Shadow Fiend out, or I mean Mindbender out, um, you're gonna be doing like it's a 20% buff to Void Blast. Like that's insane. Um, Void Blast already felt insanely powerful. It felt like I was casting a flash heal on every single party member before this change. And so after, it might feel like I'm casting an empowered heal on every single party member when I have Mindbender up and I cast um, Void Blast, which is what Smite turns into. Okay, so I wanted to take a couple minutes to talk about how this is going to affect Holy Priest in dungeons. I went to Warcraft logs and I'm looking at Operation Floodgate, the top healing, and what this is maybe going to mean for the builds. So right now in Floodgate, 90% of people are using Lightweaver. It's not everyone. And if you ever see a talent at less than 90%, it's not mandatory. So a lot of people are dropping Lightweaver and Trail of Light in favor of, it looks like, trying to pick up answered prayers. So what they're trying to do is get more apotheosis uptime. And I would imagine that a lot of them are using, if you're dropping Lightweaver, you're probably dropping Divinity and getting Eternal Sanctity. So what that does is just give you massive apotheosis uptime and you do big, big, big damage. So Holy Priest was already doing pretty big damage. I mean, I did 1.2 million DPS in a level 10 dungeon as Holy, and that disc is doing like 200,000. So, I mean, they're doing a little more than that. They're doing like 350, but I mean, I've seen it as low as 200,000. So, it's a pretty substantial pickup to play Holy and do all that damage. Um, Basically, there's 10% people not using Lightweaver, and then you have 3% playing Answered Prayers for more apotheosis uptime, and you have 7% using Prismatic Echoes. Now, what I'm thinking is Holy Priests might, in it might be dungeon by dungeon. You might want Lightweaver for some dungeons, but I have a feeling that people are going to pick up Resonant Words and go into Prismatic Echoes and like similar to this build right here. I have a feeling people are going to be using something like this in a lot of dungeons. Like it's the benefit of more damage, it's the benefit of on-demand renew. So Lightwell has the benefit of giving you renew when people drop low, but it's only when Lightwell's active. Whereas this, applying renew when you cast your holy word, that's whenever you need it. And you can always make sure to keep your holy word sanctify ready for AoE. AoE doesn't happen all that often, and if you're casting renew on cooldown, then your holy word sanctifies um, cooldown is only like 20 seconds, and you can stack up to two of them. So yeah, I really have a feeling this build might be pretty solid. So I'll be trying it out next week. But and another thing, we might see this number go from 62% to, closer to 50. It's pretty close. Like a 40-60 chain spread on hero talents, that's pretty competitive. So with these Oracle buffs on top of, and I consider the Holy Nova a bigger Oracle buff than the Archon, because Oracle's Holy Nova does more, so increasing its base damage is going to increase Oracle's damage even more. So I got to get on point and get that Oracle guide out. Tax day is in 3 days, so that's the next video I'll make, and I'll make it after tax day, and we'll be good. So appreciate you guys for watching. Let me know if you like the intro. Haven't tried anything like that before, but I thought it would be fun. So cheers.